Hello and welcome. My name is Jaeger Anderson with JaegerAndersonPhotography.com, and today we will be continuing our skin retouching workflow on this channel. So I've decided to take the last two processes in my retouching workflow and combine them into one video as opposed to two videos. So in this video, I'm going to be focusing on dodging and burning as well as color grading. So let's get started. So with dodging and burning, one of the things you really want to focus on is accentuating highlights and shadows in a way that just makes the image more compelling. We're essentially trying to make the photograph more dynamic and more contrasty, essentially. So what we're going to do is, as opposed to running an action, I'm just going to show you the very easy way. The thing I always do is I always use curves like so, and I'll just set up two. Call this one dodge. Call this one burn. And if you're not familiar, dodging is lightening and burning is darkening. So we're going to go to our dodge layer and we're going to brighten this image up just like that, and then we're going to invert our layer, and for our burn we're going to bring it down, going to invert the mask, and voila. I'm going to go to our brush, going to use a normal brush, I'm going to drop it down to 1%, press enter, make sure we're nice and soft, hardness at 0, that looks good. We're going to go and make sure that our image is looking solid. Okay, so that's all good here. So there are two ways to go about doing this. There's the global and the local. Fortunately, I don't really have to do much local dodging and burning, so I'm just going to focus on my global dodge and burn. Okay, so I've grouped those together. It doesn't really matter how we want to go about doing this. I'm going to start with my burn, and I'm going to accentuate the feature. So I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to paint with white, not black. Do little strokes here and here, across the forehead, along the cheeks, anywhere. This will look very subtle. See how subtle that is? Boop, boop. And I am just tightening up the features. I'm also going to do that along the arms. So anywhere there's a shadow, I'm just adding a shadow. On the outsides of the arms, like so. And then for the highlights, for the dodging, do a little on the cheeks, right here, on the chin, on the insides of the arms, like so. You can do it on the bridge a little bit, here. That looks pretty good. Turn that off, turn that on. That's all we gotta do. Now, I could create a new layer, but for the sake of this video, I'm gonna keep it very short. Oftentimes, when I'm dodging and burning, I'll create 3 separate folders of dodging and burning. So what I'll do is I'll create a folder for the global, which is sort of the macro side of things, right? I focus on how can I add, texture, or rather, how can I add structure to the body and to the face using dodging and burning. And then I will have a hair dodging and burning, and then I'll have a fixer dodging and burning. And I generally start with the fixer dodging and burning and go through and do that. I skipped that for this series of videos just because I wanted this series to be a little faster and a little more efficient. But that's generally how I break it up. I'll have a global, a hair, and a fixer. In this case, I don't have a fixer. I didn't feel it was necessary. Her skin looks really great, and with our fancy frequency separation that we did in the last video, it seemed unnecessary to do so here. Finally, though, I am going to do hair, but I'm just going to keep it on these same ones, these same layers within this global dodge and burn folder. So when I'm dodging and burning hair, it's just like anything else. If it's light, I'm going to lighten it. If it's dark, I'm going to darken it. So any of these blonde pieces that are coming through, just going to accentuate those. And then on the burn side, now I'm going to find some dark spots and make them a little darker. And that's all I'm going to do. Go in here to our dodge. Any of these highlights, I just kind of accentuate them. That's all I'm doing. I'm accentuating the highlights. And then burn, come in here, darken those spots. Great. And that'll be subtle, but it will be nice. It'll add a little dynamism to the hair and to the body. All right, so that was very quick and very off the cuff with our dodging and burning. I did not dedicate a lot of time to my dodge and burn. I also didn't need to, right? With this particular image, the skin was looking great. I didn't need to do a lot. I didn't want to go in there and with a fine tooth comb and sort of perfect the skin in every detail. Not necessary for this shoot. I also wanted to keep this video brief. So now that we've gotten the dodge and burn out of the way, sort of this quick dodge and burn, what I'm going to do now is the fun part, which is the color grading. So I'm going to go in here, create a new folder, call it CC, and I use curves for all my color grading. I'll go in here, and I'll create one, I'll create two more. So I'm going to call this one red, call this one blue, call this one green. And that's RGB for you folks watching out there. So essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the red one. I'm going to make this my red layer. And I'm going to go in here and I'm going to make adjustments. So if I bring it down, it's going to reduce the reds. If I bring it up, it's going to increase the reds. So I want to create sort of a golden tone here, right? So I might pull the reds out of the hair, right? If I do that, kind of brings them out, puts in a little more cyan. Let's go to our blues. I'm going to reduce our blues. Oh, that's the overall image. We don't want to do that. Excuse me. That's why I have this here. Go to our blue channel. Add in a little blue there. I like to add a little blue into the shadows a little bit. And if you infuse a little blue into the highlights, it makes the skin glow a little bit. Fun fact. All right, let's go to our green channel. That's, again, got to go down here. There we go. Oh, that's blue. There we go. There's our green channel. That's what we want. Bring in the greens just a little bit in the highlights. Add a little more red to the shadows. Nice. I kind of like that look. Turn it off, turn it on. That looks pretty nice. I like that a lot. The final thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a contrast curve. So I'm going to go in here. I'm going to go RGB and I'm going to go to a medium contrast curve, and that's going to be too much. I'm going to change this mode to luminosity, which won't add contrast to the color. So something to keep in mind is that when you're working on contrast, oftentimes what happens is when you adjust it, when you adjust the lightness or the darkness of an image, it also increases the saturation. So by switching the adjustment layer on this curves to luminosity, it's not affecting the saturation, it's only going to affect the dark and light values. So just as comparison, I'm going to turn this one off. I'm going to put this one on normal, and you're going to see the difference. So here's the normal one, right? Normal, curves, and here's the one with the luminosity. Normal. See how much more saturated the colors are on the top one than this one? The colors are a little bit more muted. And that's important because I don't want to increase the saturation. I just want to increase the contrast. All right, so I'm going to go in here. I'm going to bump this way down because it's way too much. Probably do it like 30. I think that looks solid. We'll take that. Doot, doot. Nice. Oh, also, I'm going to go back to my dodge and burn for a second because I just noticed I wanted to darken the eyebrows a little bit. I always like to bring the eyebrows in a little bit, make them a little more bold. There we go. There's our CC, looking snazzy. And then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a stamp visible layer. I'm going to go to, well, actually, before I do that, I'm going to turn this into a smart object. And it's thinking, there we go. And then I'm going to go to filter, and then I'm going to go to noise, add noise. I'm going to look in here, the eyes. That looks pretty good, about 5%. Press OK. And yeah, voila. There you have it. A beautifully retouched image, if I say so myself. And we can do the before and after on this. Doot, doot. Looking pretty snazzy. All right, pretty happy with that. Well, there you have it. That was the final video in our retouching process. And as you can see, I was talking a lot, so the process was kind of slow. But you can imagine if you're working on a lot of these images that the combination of prepping the skin in Capture One, then to using those new frequency separation techniques where you create the Gaussian blur and the high pass filter, and you invert it and then start painting and then crossing out the paint. That process combined finally with the color grading and the dodge and burn, the global dodge and burn, that process might take anywhere from 30 to 40 minutes to do, maybe even less once you get really good at it. And depending on if you don't have a lot of retouching to do on the individual that you're working with. This is a very quick process. I've spent so long and so many hours dodging and burning, trying to create the perfect skin. And I've spent anywhere from, 4 hours trying to get a perfect image. Whereas this is very fast, and the results are, I think, pretty effective and pretty darn good, pretty professional, and they speak for themselves. If you found this video helpful, if you liked what I've produced here, I hope you'll consider subscribing and liking this video. It really helps me out, and I would appreciate it greatly. I am trying to improve my YouTube channel, and so if you have any feedback for me or you'd like to learn something new, whether it's about dodging and burning or color grading, please let me know in the comments below, and I'd be more than happy to make a video about it. I'll see you at the next one.